Tim Probert. I'm the editor of Personal Care magazine. I'm delighted to say that today's webinar is given by one of the world's most respected personal care ingredient makers, Grant Industries Inc. Founded in 1938 and headquartered in the US state of New Jersey, Grant develops, manufactures and markets high-performance specialty ingredients for the personal care and beauty industry. Grant is a fifth-generation privately owned personal care focused company with dedicated investment in material innovation and formulation support. With operations in the US and Asia and technical presence supporting Europe, Latin America and Asia Pacific, Grant is built for long-term global formulation success. Today's webinar is titled Formulating the Future, Longevity, Minimalism and the Science of Less. In this webinar, we will explore the science behind Grant's longevity actives, alongside AI-inspired trend insights and the formulation technologies making minimalist concepts possible. Featuring an overview of Grant's GrantSense sensory textures and powder technologies, you will come away from this webinar with actionable formulation strategies and a clear view of where the market is heading. Today's webinar is a joint presentation, first by Dean February and then by Mehran Gadim. Dean leads Grant Industries' EMEA technical sales team, bringing deep expertise in personal care raw materials and formulation innovation to customers across Europe. Having spent 12 years in personal care as a formulation chemist, Dean is deeply passionate about texture and customer delight. As the driving force behind Grant's expanding European presence, Dean works closely with brands and formulators to translate cutting-edge ingredient science into real-world product concepts. Mehran Gadim leads Grant's global active strategy, leveraging his background in skin biology and sales experience to translate complex cellular science into market-ready innovations. Mehran works alongside international sales, marketing, and R&D teams to target key accounts, bridging the gap between research and practical solutions for global brands. At the end of their presentations, Dean and Mehran will be very happy to answer any questions you may have in the live Q&A session. Please put your questions to Dean and Mehran via the questions text box in your GoToWebinar on the top right of your screen there. So with that, over to you, Dean.
Thank you very much for the introduction there, Tim. It's very much appreciated. So let me just pull up my presentation. And thank you all for joining today. So as Tim mentioned, today we're really going to be discussing really the future of formulation. So longevity is going to be a topic we're going to cover, and Mehran, my colleague, will be discussing that, where I'll be talking about really minimalism. Maybe just a little bit more on top of what Tim has already explained about who we are. So if ever you see a Grant presentation, you will see the term partner over supplier. And this is truly something that we live and we breathe this. This is not just a corporate tagline. And it's really our philosophy to make sure that we put the customer at the front and center of everything we do. So in terms of things that we bring to the customer and supporting you with your developments, we're able to offer customizable materials. So it's not just always one size fits all. We have a fantastic team based in the lab. So our technical knowledge, our applications teams are really there to support you and you're going to hear this word a lot, but speed up your development. We know when it comes to trend-led innovation within the marketplace, that speed to market is absolutely crucial. And that's what we're here to help deliver. We have a very, very strong regulatory team, and they're really able to kind of see on the horizon the challenges that we may not face today, but we will be facing in the future. A really good example of that, of course, is the recent regulations regarding low cyclics and now low linear options for silicone elastomers. And again, this is something we're already well ahead of, and we're there to support you as customers. So our role, as the slide says, is to help your formulation succeed in every market. Now, over the past few years, I would say that Grant Industries has really adapted and grown and become something very, very unique. And we've invested a lot in the back end of our business. And I really hope that I can demonstrate today the great tools that we have at your disposal to really develop products in a quicker, more efficient way, but also creating not just shortcuts, but really creating products that delight consumers. So as we mentioned quickly at the start, in terms of my introduction, I'm really passionate about skincare, about cosmetic products. And for me, I think there's nothing better than putting a product on the market that everyone is proud of, that consumers use and get really excited about. So one of the things that we've created is what we call our innovation ecosystem. So we know that the market is shifting. We know things like ChatGPT, Claude, and all of these other AI agents, they're going to change how we interface with our customers. We know this agentic shopping system is something that we're starting to see now, but we're going to see grow more and more. So really, if I could just talk you through our four main areas that we've grown. So the first one is called Benchmate. So this is a tool, you can download this. It's part of our website. You can apply it directly to your phone. And the idea here is that when you're in the lab, maybe you're formulating, maybe you've got a question about one of our raw materials in terms of understanding its chemistry, how it's utilized. Maybe you're using a raw material at the moment that you know has been discontinued, or there's supply chain challenges. I know in today's world, supply chain is one of the things that a lot of companies are focusing on. Benchmate is designed there as a support tool to help you unlock our ingredients to make sure that you can formulate quickly and efficiently. You can actually look at different ingredients that we have. You can search by the inky name. You can search by the function. There's lots and lots of different tools within our Benchmate. And as I said, we call it Benchmate because it's literally designed by the formulators to use whilst they're in the lab, like literally at the bench. The next tool we have is our live chat. As I mentioned, we've got a fantastic team behind us. So we really do lean on our R&D teams, whether that's our teams developing new formulations, our teams developing new capabilities, new understanding of our raw materials, our blue sky division, or whether that's our department that is creating all of the formulas that we send to you. So you can actually chat directly to our R&D teams. They can give you advice on how you incorporate raw materials, what raw materials to use. And that guidance and expertise is available online, again, directly from our website or by using it on your phone. We also are very, very proud of our grant design gallery. So I have to say, our global partner, IMCD, created the Beauty Studio, and we witnessed what the Beauty Studio can do at IMCD, and we're really impressed. So we wanted to not only create that ourselves, but also put our grant spin on that. And that's why we created our grant design gallery. We have two locations. One is in our headquarters at Elmwood Park in New Jersey, and the other one is our newly opened office in California. The idea here is that we have around 300 base chassis covering skincare, sun care, color cosmetics, and all of these base chassis vary in terms of texture, playtime, viscosity, and they're designed as finish base chassis formulas that have been stability tested. So this is really something that you can come and visit. You can actually come in with a brief, or you can just come in and actually just review all of the types of formulations. It's a really interactive approach. It's very much hands-on. We found that it works very, very well with technical people, but we've also found that it works very well with brand managers, with marketeers, people that are in product development. So it's a true experience, and we've had, as I mentioned, a lot of success with multiple customers using the Grant Design Gallery. So this is all about looking at all of the textures that we can create using our technology. Now, of course, it's not just about the sensory. It's also about what ingredients can I add? What claimable active ingredients can I use? And this is why we have our Grant Design Gallery selection platform. So this again is very similar to our Grant Design Gallery from a texture point of view, but coming it from an active ingredient point of view. And here we're able to actually navigate all of our active portfolio with our customers live or via the website. And here you're able to choose the active ingredients you're looking for, specifically for claim or specifically for performance. You can also search by cost. So you can look for active ingredients specifically for the prestige market or even the mass market or somewhere in the middle with masstige active ingredients. And again, the whole purpose of this is for you to innovate quicker, to actually find tailored solutions unique to the brand that you're working with, to create your own concepts and to do it quickly. We've had many instances where customers have come to our Grant Design Gallery, and within that day, they've left following some work within the lab with a selection of formulas, with their active ingredients in place inside the formulas, with the claims that they're able to make. It really can be that kind of unboxing of a technology to create a product within a very, very quick space of time. Now, unfortunately, not everyone can make it to New Jersey. This is why we have our on-the-go Grant Design Gallery. So this is really designed to bring our Grant Design Gallery directly to you and your facilities. So here we have a selection of around about 80 different products. These are all base chassis formulas. And again, these cover skin, sun, color. We have synthetic options, we have natural options, we have different textures from very, very lightweight essence formulas right through to balms and solid stick formulations. Again, all stability tested, all designed to be very, very different in terms of sensory and performance. So you can really identify the types of textures and formulas that your brand really is searching, that they know resonates with their own customers. So that's just some of the tools that we've got at Grant Industries here to help drive innovation. On top of that, we also want to look at what trends are available in the market. Where do we see the market going? And really to understand what is driving those trends and what we can do to support you by meeting those requirements. We have 6 trends that we really feel are making the most impact within the market. So the first one, of course, is this move from anti-aging to prejuvenation and longevity. Now, my colleague Moran will talk to you about longevity and the space that we've been working on. And this is certainly something that we've been discussing at Grant now for almost 4 years. We know that longevity is very much at front and center of the consumer. This is something they're looking for. We know that this trend is gathering more and more pace. And this is really about delaying aging. So it's very different from the standard anti-aging concepts where we're trying to reverse the signs of aging. Of course, at Grant, we do have our rockstar active ingredients like Grant Active Retinoid, which is designed, of course, as an anti-aging ingredient. But here we have something else. The longevity active is there, as I said, for those younger consumers that want to look as young and as youthful as they can for as long as they can. The next trend we're seeing here is, of course, skin microbiome. This is not a new trend, of course. It's been around for some time. But what we are seeing is this evolution of microbiome. It's now not just about the face, it's now about the scalp. It's now about the body care. So it's really about a full holistic approach for microbiome. And we have active ingredients within this space. We have biotech active ingredients. And of course, we also have ingredients that are designed specifically for sensitive skin. I always find sensitive skin quite an interesting topic because I always remember one of the very well-known facts that something like 8 out of 10 people claim to have sensitive skin, when in reality, only 1 out of 10 people actually have sensitive skin. So there's always a demand for formulations which are lightweight, very, very mild, and very well tolerated by the skin. And again, that's something that we can help support your development on. Minimalism and emotional self-care. So as you saw by the title, minimalism is something that I think many companies have really pushed against in terms of us as suppliers, because just having a smaller ingredient list doesn't necessarily mean that the product is safer or better. However, this is being driven by the consumer, and it's very clear that consumers do want more streamlined formulations, very short inks, and they want to understand very much what each ingredient is doing within their formula. When we talk about AI, when we talk about agents being used to understand skincare, and there's many brands out there that are really using messaging about their technologies, about their ingredients to really engage with the consumer, and there's very much an appetite for that. So here we can see that very much the trend is not going away, that there is going to be smaller inky products on the market. And again, we want to make sure that we're not losing performance by reducing the number of ingredients. So again, it's about creating products that have fantastic sensory properties, but are still able to have small, purposeful inkies. Another one of our trends here, of course, is natural looking aesthetics. This is really driven by the color cosmetic market. So post-COVID, we saw the very vibrant, very bright color market. People were really happy to take off the COVID mask and have bright colored makeup. We've seen that trend completely move 180, and now it's back to the no makeup trend. There's some fantastic brands out there really leading the way. I always think of Jones Road, the Bobbi Brown brand that has had a real big splash in the US with some products which are, again, very age inclusive and really just there about making the skin look good. Glow, glass skin trends that we see coming from Asia, again, are all about sheer formulations. Sustainability and clean beauty. Again, we've highlighted this as a trend, but this is really a trend that's been going for many, many, many years, and we only see it increasing, but also adapting. So, for example, we have our silicone technology. It's always an interesting topic to discuss because silicones are degradable. So they're not able to be broken down by microbes. So they're not able to be just biodegradable, as in a status, but they are degradable in the environment. However, we do also have bio-based and biodegradable natural elastomers. So our term that we use here at Grant is our strategy is options. So irrespective of the type of formula you're working on, whether it's synthetic based, whether it's clean beauty, whether it's natural, whether it's Cosmos, whether it's Yucca compliant, we will always have an ingredient that can elevate your formula and improve the sensory. It really wants to deliver that wow effect to the customer. And the final trend, and I think one of the most difficult, is the personalization. And we're really going to see this being reshaped by AI. So we've already seen that things like ChatGPT can create new skincare routines based on you uploading a picture of your face. It will give you advice. And this is where we see specifically this area growing. So AI-enabled tools are really going to lead the way here. And again, speed to market is really going to be crucial for making sure we get the best engagement. So again, this is where Grant can support you in making sure you're hitting the market with the products that consumers demand today. Because of that, we've created a selection of different formulations. Now, unfortunately, because of course this is a webinar, I can't go through all of the formulations and demonstrate the kind of textures that we have, but I wanted to show you a list of the kind of formulations that we do have. So we have 5 or 6 formulations for each area. So that's skincare, color cosmetics, and sun care. I did want to mention, of course, we're talking about minimalism. I wanted to give you a few examples of the types of formulas that we have and also show you their design and why we designed them to be that way. So, of course, these are all longevity-driven, prejuvenation, barrier-safe solutions. And again, designed with minimalistic inkies. So one of the first and one of my favorite formulations is our Ampule Serum Slip Drop. Now, this formulation, as you can see, has a very, very small list of ingredients. We're using our GrandSense elastomer, so our bio-based natural elastomer, Cosmos approved, has a naturality index of 1 when using ISO 16128, and is designed to give the very luxurious slip that you would expect to see in a silicone-containing formulation. In fact, one of my favorite parts of my job is showing this formulation to people and they say, oh, it contains silicone. And I say, it's completely without silicones. As I have explained, the formulation is very, very simple. The water content is almost 80%. So a very, very cost-effective, high-performing formulation. Another example would be our hydro-infused milk serum. Now, again, for whatever reason, milk serums seem to be very, very much on the kind of front end of the consumer right now. So they're very much interested in these types of more fluid, lightweight textures. Now, I've been in the industry for some time, like Tim mentioned, so it's always interesting to see these trends kind of come back full circle. So I know that milky type textures and lightweight serums have been around for some time. But again, this seems to be a really hot topic right now for today's consumer. Here we've elevated the GrandSense and now we're using 20%. You'll notice that this GrandSense is 18XC, where the previous was a slightly different grade. The reason we chose the 18XC is it gives a very dewy, glowy finish. So again, this ties into not only the K-Beauty lightweight texture, but also that glass skin trend that we see. So as I mentioned, we have our GrandSense bio-based elastomer. We have different grades. I'm showcasing 3 here for you, our main 3 GrandSense grades, able to give very, very soft cushion, great slip, fantastic spreadability, and can either give you a very dewy, glossy finish when using GrandSense 18 or 21, or if you want a more matte-like silicone feel, the GrandSense 55 can give you that matte finish. I also wanted to highlight that these formulations come within a booklet, and please do reach out to either myself or your local grant representative. And we're able to really not only showcase technology, but we also like to try and give you some information in terms of education. So we know very well microplastics is something that we've all been dealing with in our industry for some years now. And really we're helping to give you an understanding of what are the products that we have, which are microplastics and which are not. I mean, this is something we've been working on for many, many years within grants, and we have many different types of options. We have, of course, natural powders, biodegradable, fully biodegradable also within seawater. So we're clearly able to demonstrate that these materials are not microplastics when using the ECHA definition. I also just wanted to touch on some sun care. So again, sun care is something I think most people will agree, an area where we have seen the evolution of the product types. I'm not that young, but I do remember certainly being a child and wearing sun care and my mum applying sunscreen to me and it always being very heavy, greasy, very, very white and just not a great experience. And of course, today, those types of formulations are just not acceptable today. So it's really about creating formulations that are lightweight, that feel great. And I can't remember who said this, but the best SPF is the one that you wear every day. And I really love that approach. And here's just another example. So I know that SPF can be a very difficult topic. It's a very specialized technology, and it's very, very daunting for a formulator when you've never worked in sun care to be given a brief that requires SPF. And certainly we've seen this shift of more and more skincare products requiring SPF being added in. So we see this sunification of skincare trend. This is just an example of where we can create very, very simple base formulations using mineral filters or organic filters, or in other formulations, combinations of hybrid formulas. We have all different options. Again, strategy is options. So here we're just showing you a formulation designed only with our zinc oxide dispersion being used and creating an SPF lightweight texture. And again, you'll see within the brochure, we have a lot of information about our UV filters, and you can actually scan and actually go through the presentation in full within your own time. So as I've talked about, thank you very much for your time. I've really tried to give you an overview of what we offer at Grant Industries. We also have our sister company, Biocomponent Research. Biocomponent Research is still part of the Grant Industry family, but this is dedicated specifically to more active ingredients. So here we have lots of different types of technologies, whether that's biotransformation active ingredients or fermentation technologies, creating microbiome type raw materials. We've got plant stem cell technology, and we also can create custom complexes. So we have a very, very large selection of ingredients here that, again, can elevate your formulation from a claim substantiation point of view. And in that, I will now pass over directly to my colleague, Moran. Thank you very much.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you once more for your time. So what I'm gonna do is share my screen and take you through our new active. So let's full screen that. So our new active is bakuchiol NAD plus BCR. It is an ester for skin longevity. This has been a project that we've had for a while now, and it's something we're very excited to showcase because we believe it can be very disruptive to the skincare industry as well. So why longevity, right? It's an ester for longevity. Why even bother with longevity to begin with? Yes, we know that everybody's talking about it. It is, of course, a major trend, but it is not just a trend. So one of the things we often get asked is, what is the difference between traditional anti-aging and longevity? So let's start with what we see visually, right? We know over time, unfortunately, wrinkles form, elasticity drops, we get more sagging, and tone becomes more uneven, or you get discoloration as well, right? What do we see from that? We know that collagen goes down, elastin goes down, your skin turnover also slows down as well. That's what we see over time. Traditional anti-aging, like retinoids, like peptides, they compensate for this, right? So they don't actually solve the key reasons for why this decline happens. Instead, they tell your skin to make more collagen, make more elastin, speed up turnover, right? Longevity is different. So longevity is actually trying to target the key reasons for why this decline happens. So what are the key reasons? The key reasons you can see here. This is one framework. So it is a review paper called The Hallmarks of Aging. I'm sure many of you have seen this over and over again, right? Because it is very often cited. It is also one of the most widely accepted frameworks that we have so far. And what you can see here is many things like genomic instability, epigenetic alteration, cellular senescence. There's a lot of things that are here that connect to one another and are seen as kind of the key reasons for why aging occurs to begin with. So using those factors, you can start to make kind of more frameworks or a step-by-step progression of how aging might occur. So I'm just using one example here. I kind of outlined one schema. So you can have UV radiation, of course, photo aging, it's the bane of everybody. That's why we use sunscreens. But UV will then go to damage your DNA and lead to an increase in oxidative stress. Then what happens is you can have an increase in senescence. So senescent cells are essentially cells that are damaged enough that they no longer function as they should. Now, they do have their benefits, but over time, we see too many senescent cells. So there's an accumulation of senescent cells in skin. Those cells, this is an example of a senescent cell here, they're going to release inflammatory factors, which is going to disturb the surrounding tissue. So again, what do we see here from the hallmarks is an example, right? We get damage to your DNA. It can be genomic instability. It can also be epigenetic alterations. These are linked. That leads to an increase in senescence, that leads to an increase in chronic inflammation. So these hallmarks, it's not like they're really completely mutually exclusive. They're linked to one another altogether. And of course, longevity is trending. We all know that, right? Longevity is trending significantly. What we can see throughout the years here, and this is spate data, is through Google, through TikTok, through Instagram, searches for longevity is just compounding over time, and we see that increasing into the future, right? But do we also see a boost in NAD as well? So NAD, I'll get into more specifically what that is, but it is a more precise measure or a more precise terminology of longevity. And I think this is going to continue with time. So as longevity becomes more accepted in the space, the conversation around it is going to be more precise. That is my prediction over time as well. So NAD, why did we call this bakuchiol, NADBCR, and how is it important? NAD you can kind of think of as a resource. So again, going back to the key reasons for why aging happens to begin with, right? Kind of the background or framework of longevity. If you imagine yourself as an orchestra, right? You can imagine yourself as an orchestra. If you're young and healthy, then all the music is played beautifully. All the notes are played as they should, and it is very orderly. Over time, what happens is certain notes are played when they should not be played. And over the years, as that compounds, then the music, when you're 50 plus, as an example, is completely different than the music as when you're in your 20s, as an example, right? So because of that, the order is very important. And the compounds that help to keep your skin youthful, that help to maintain that order so that in the orchestra, everything is played as it should, all the notes are played as they should. These two examples of compounds that regulate that are sirtuins and PARPs, right? So sirtuins help to keep the music functioning as it should. They help to label your genome and epigenome in order to ensure that the right genes are expressed at the right time. And PARPs are important for DNA repair. So whenever you have DNA damage, which is that we see over here, right? Whenever you have DNA damage, it can be from photoaging as an example. PARPs are used to initiate the repair response. So again, we're looking at keeping the order of your system, your biological systems maintained as it should. Both of these compounds use NAD. So NAD you can view as a resource that is used by these compounds, and it is also used for other things like energy production as well, and also maintaining that oxidative balance. But what happens? So as NAD becomes limited, as these do not function as well as they should, you get an increase in inflammation, and inflammation is going to lead to an acceleration of aging, right? So that's why a comprehensive approach can be, okay, let's deal with NAD, let's deal with the inflammation, and let's deal with PARPs and sirtuins and these compounds that are important for keeping your skin young as well. We kind of want to target all of these things. So NAD is important, right? But the problem is that it declines with age, as you would suspect, right? So this is true across brain tissue. It's also true across skin. It's really all around, right? NAD declines. How can we fix that? We can use precursors. Niacin is an example of a precursor. So niacin gets converted to NAD in cells, well proven across many different research tests. Very efficient at doing that. But the problem with it is water soluble, which means that the skin penetration for niacin, it's not great. You got to get the percentage up to get the penetration, to get those levels to make NAD. But if you use higher amounts of niacin, you get niacin flush, you get redness. So that is the issue with niacin. Bakuchiol, we love bakuchiol. It's not a longevity active. It's more traditional anti-aging. However, I believe the future, well, we believe the future is a combo of the two. Because if you're somebody that already uses bakuchiol, already using retinoids and peptides, are you supposed to buy a second longevity serum or a more expensive serum with these new longevity actives too? The messaging for that is very difficult for the consumer. So the most efficient answer from our view, the most elegant answer, is to fuse these worlds together. So you get the traditional anti-aging, which works beautifully well, right? And incorporation of all this new longevity research in one active, rather than providing more confusion, changing consumer trends, and also kind of forcing people to have it to spend more money as well, right? This, we believe, is the disruptive, single, efficient solution as well. And this is a molecule. So it's displayed here visually. You can see this is nicotinic acid. This is bakuchiol. It's fused together in an ester. So the way that this works is that in your skin, this in and of itself has unique activity. I'll go through the data and show you why we think that is the case and how the data shows that. So this, as a combined molecule, has unique activity. However, we also know that your skin contains esterases, so it's also going to be cut in half, and you're going to get time delivery of niacin to become NAD and time delivery of bakuchiol as well. So it's dual mechanism. That's the beauty of it. And you can see the solvent system. We also have it in what are called vitamin F glycerol esters as well. So what my colleague Dean touched on, we think more ideation, more learning is going to happen through these LLMs like ChatGPT or Gemini, or whatever the case might be. And if you have clean ink keys, and if you have one molecule instead of something that is a bit more obfuscated, like an extract, which can be different across different regions, it will help to deliver a much cleaner narrative through those LLMs. That is something that we optimized for as well. And for the interest of time, I'm going to move through the solvent system, but it's essentially just solvent system we like a lot, helps to boost the penetration, increases hydration, and it's been shown to be helpful even in some cases like acne as well. So we're fans of the vitamin F glycerol ester solvent system. So that was the introduction. Now getting into the data, right? What did we see from this? And I'm going to kind of take this chronologically as we kind of got the results back. Starting with the gene expression, this is of course where we first screen the compound. We usually use co-culture, keratinocytes and fibroblasts to help mimic the clinical environment. And we had UVB radiation for 60 seconds as a stressor to initiate a kind of stress or aging response. So round one, there were 2 rounds. Round one was comparing the ester versus bakuchiol and niacin. Just very briefly, what you can see from this is really nice reduction in inflammatory markers like IL-1 alpha and TNF alpha. And these are not small differences. TNF alpha, 17 times better reduction than bakuchiol and 3x better than niacin. So very potent anti-inflammatory. MMP1, this is the enzyme that's going to break down collagen in your skin, especially important for photoaging. 12 times better than bakuchiol, 10 times better than niacin. And if you go to things like collagen and elastin, 6 times better collagen production than bakuchiol, and 40% better than niacin, 2 times better elastin production than bakuchiol, and not significant versus niacin means it performed the same. So niacin performs beautifully in these tests, but again, you have flushing as a concern. So what this tells us is there is unique activity. If all we did was just provide timed release of bakuchiol, we would have just given the same benefits as bakuchiol. But instead, we have 10 times, 6 times, 8 times better numbers than bakuchiol itself. Round 2, we expanded the gene set versus water, even more anti-inflammatory markers. But a key part of this story is PARPs. So remember PARPs, they were the compounds I mentioned that whenever you have DNA damage, they bind to the region of damage and they help to initiate that repair response or recruit more of those repair compounds. What we saw here is unique. It is not something we have seen in any active we've tested before. It is also not something that we have seen in actives we're testing currently as well. This is unique only to this molecule. And what we found was an increase in PARP1, PARP2, and also PARP9. So we know that there is something very interesting going on here from a DNA repair standpoint. And well, I'll show you we knew to further investigate that with the ex vivo. Also antioxidant-wise through SODs and also through hydration and barrier repair as well. So aquaporin 3, involucrin, ceramide synthase, also important for hydration and barrier repair. So combining all the gene expression results, we saw a reduction in inflammaging through anti-inflammatory markers and also an increase in antioxidants. We saw cellular longevity through PARPs and also SODs. We also saw a boost in collagen and elastin, which is what we want to see, and also reduction in compounds that break these down, and really nice increase in hydration and barrier repair markers. This is holistic in terms of gene expression. Now, the next natural question after that was, okay, what about skin models? On ex vivo testing, we used 4 different skin models. We were very comprehensive with this. And we looked at the NAD boosting, whether we actually boost the NAD plus NADH ratio, and further investigation of the DNA repair systems. There were 4 studies here. So the first study I'm going to outline for you was a 32-year-old with UV as a stressor. Second study, 28-year-old without UV. And studies 3 and 4 were on a 54-year-old with UV and without UV. So this covers basically every possible condition from 28 to 54, including UV and without UV as well. So this was the first result we got. Very exciting for us because this showed that we were on the right track in terms of NAD boosting. This is the 32-year-old. And what you can see here is a significant off the charts uplift in the NAD plus NADH ratio. And the comparison I want to highlight here, this bar is bakuchiol and nicotinic acid, not as an ester, but together in the same medium. You can think of this as just adding bakuchiol and nicotinic acid to your formulation, right? And you can see it's night and day difference. So again, we show differentiated activity by making it into the ester. You don't get the significant boost from the individual components, even when they're used together. And this was a 359% induction number, or 196% boost as well. So very significant. I also want to highlight the dose. So 0.01% of bakuchiol NAD plus BCR. This is 25% active, meaning this is the lowest dose. This is 0.0025% active in here, lowest dose across all of the conditions tested, and we got the best result. So it is highly efficient. Next one, so we know we boost NAD. Next one is DNA repair. What happens in terms of DNA repair? So we tracked gamma H2AX. This is just a DNA damage marker. And the gist, the overview here really is that if you look at the numbers quantitatively, we protected against 78% of the DNA damage. So we did show a protective effect. Bakuchiol itself, it wasn't great. It was only 41%. The best result was nicotinic acid at 94%. But look at the use level, 1% ex vivo. We usually do a 10x. So this is like 10% clinical. That is 100% going to lead to flushing. You're going to get a flushing response using that amount. So we're giving you top tier longevity performance in that range while giving you all the benefits and more of traditional anti-aging by bakuchiol. And this is just a visual. So you can see increase in redness here, indicative of DNA damage. So it's just immunofluorescence. So we stained gamma H2AX and is red here. And you can see with bakuchiol NAD BCR, significant reduction in red. We had a backup marker. So PARP1, remember, as I mentioned with PARPs, is that whenever you have DNA damage, they're going to bind to that region of damage and they're going to be important for the repair response, right? But what if you don't have a lot of DNA damage to begin with? then they don't need to be used as much. They're not going to be as active. And so here, the lower is the better. And you can see in this case, we had by far the lowest. So here we were far and away the best result, even better than 1% nicotinic acid and the combo. So again, top tier DNA repair performance here. And we also have visuals for that. So that was study one. The rest is really just further investigation of the NAD plus NADH ratio to give you an idea of what happens with different age groups. We were very comprehensive with this. You can see here, you can think of this as the worst case scenario. Why is it the worst case scenario? Because you're looking at a 28-year-old without any UV. So this is somebody at the peak of their youth with no stress. And even in that case, we boosted it by 43%. And keep in mind the dose here. So 50 ppm, 43% boost. If we go all the way up to 450 ppm, this is 27.6%. So this is something that we know with longevity in general. The difference, one other difference with longevity is there is a bell curve where there is like a Goldilocks, a sweet spot zone where you want to stay within that sweet spot. So you can think of this as 50 ppm, 450, and say 1% use of our active is in between. So it is about 250 ppm. So this is showing you that's around where we want to be for someone that is 28 as well. Now this is somebody that is 54 years old, and two key differences that we see here, right? I want to draw your attention to this one. What you see here with UV, the solvent system has a significant impact on the NAD plus NADH ratio. So look at the stress. See here that there was an increased contribution from the solvent system. And here at 1% use, there was the best result, which is the solvent and bakuchiol nicotinate together. So what we see here is that the stress signal, the inflammatory signal, right? Anti-inflammatory is very important for this here. Now, if you look at the condition without any UV, without any stress, what do we notice here as well? Look at the dose, right? 250, 375, 475. We can just keep going up in dose and we still don't really reach the ceiling. So we get diminishing returns, 375 to 475, but we still get a little bit of an increase. You can probably assume it peaks around 475. This is like 2% use. It is you can go much higher in terms of levels here. And that's the difference from 54-year-old versus 28-year-old, where you can see at 450, there was that bell shape, right? But you still get a very strong uplift. 28% is still like your worst case scenario, whereas here, you can just keep going. And this is a 240% boost. So the way that we see this, and this is especially important for longevity care, is like somebody in their late 20s, they can start using this active at lower dosages and kind of work their way up. Whereas somebody that is in their 50s, you still see the benefits and you can scale up the dose as well. So we think this is going to be an important part of skincare routines into the future. I'm going to move through this slide. This is basically just modeling that we did to compare kind of our active versus others like niacin, niacinamide, NMN. So there's a lot of like NMN, NAD that can also be used topically. But the problem with NAD applying it topically is that it's not going to penetrate. And it's just too large of a compound. It's too hydrophilic. So the summary of this slide is that when we use modeling, I like to use Potts and Guy. It's a very common model that is used quantitatively. We had a 200 times better skin permeability than all the other actives that we've looked at. We looked at niacin, we looked at niacinamide, and we looked at NMN. So very strong data in terms of skin permeability. Lastly, we have the clinical studies, right? So the clinical study design, it was a pilot. So we had 15 subjects, 45 to 65 years old, using it twice daily application, 1% use of bakuchiol and NADBCR. There were 3 visits, so we assessed them 21 days and 42 days. So basically, it was a 6-week study. And what we looked at for our longevity markers were carbonylation and inflammatory markers through tape stripping. This is significant because you're looking at anti-inflammatory not just from a skin model standpoint, but actually from a clinical standpoint as well, to give you an idea of the stress state of the skin. Also looked at dermal thickness, and we also looked at crow's feet as well through Primos. Starting with carbonylation, like I said, this was our key longevity marker. Essentially what we know is that over time, as you have a lot of stress placed on your skin, the protein structures, anything with lysine, as an example, can also happen to glutamine. So these key amino acids that are part of collagen, elastin, etc., they get carbonylated. Whenever they get carbonylated, it disrupts the structure. And that's one of the reasons why you can have overly like inelastic skin or like leathery skin, right? So skin that just is not elastic anymore. It can be due to carbonylation that just accumulates over time. So what we found, 33% and 22% reduction in carbonylation. Very good results on a longevity standpoint. And even within just 21 days of use, which is a very short time span when we're looking at compounding effects of longevity. Inflammatory markers. So not just anti-inflammatory from a gene expression standpoint, but two key markers, interleukin-1 alpha, PGE2, 44% reduction, 27% reduction. So these are through tape stripping, inflammatory compounds visualized on a clinical basis and very significant reductions. So we knew beforehand we wouldn't get any flushing, but this is great and reassuring to see because not only do we not get a niacin flush by having this ester, we actually get the opposite of effect of an anti-inflammatory effect. So very reassuring results of that as well. We also had a thickening of the skin. So you can see 5% increase in dermal thickness, statistically significant as well. And I also want to highlight the before afters. So we had about 23% reduction in wrinkle volume. And you can see here, these wrinkles smoothed out. Even in a more significant case here, you can also see it smoothed out, very clear before afters here as well. And again, same idea. These three prominent wrinkles also smoothed out before after too. So visual differences, very nice on an anti-wrinkle basis alongside these new longevity markers too. And okay, this is just something that I noticed. It isn't anti-redness in the sense that we didn't do like an LAB type test for anti-redness, but this is something that we noticed and we can further investigate this. When we looked at pictures of the participants, we noticed, see the tone here? It's getting more even and it's getting brighter over time, right? And same with this individual where there was a lot of redness here that cleared up over the time of using the active. So because of that, we think there could be a very strong anti-redness effect that can also make sense based off of the anti-inflammatory data and the DNA repair data that we showcase. So this is something very interesting that we saw, and it's the beauty of science, right? Where you're kind of testing for one thing, you notice, oh, there's also something that's happening there. That's interesting too, that we can also further investigate. So just something we noticed from the pictures. And that is the bakuchiol NA plus BCR active. This is just a summary slide. So taking all the different hallmarks that are there, this is kind of to give you an idea of how we can impact each hallmark. There's a lot here. They're all linked. And all the different gene expression, ex vivo markers, and the in vivo markers, they're kind of just summarized here. For the interest of time, we won't be able to go through each one, but it is here as a summary, and we'd be very happy to do deep dive with you at a later point as well. So that is bakuchiol NAD plus BCR. In terms of formulation, you can incorporate it into the oil phase because it is lipophilic. And you can see room temperature to 85 degrees Celsius, it is all good. The 85 is not a hard limit. So what we've seen from other esters as well is you can go a bit above that temporarily as well. And stable in pH 3.5 to 7.5 as well. So anything you'd be using for skincare. And thank you for your time and attention once more.
Thank you very much, Moran. Okay, so we have some time for questions. I thought it was interesting there, your key takeaway, Moran, about Bakuchiol, NAD plus BCR, and the fact that NAD plus on its own is very hydrophilic and difficult. It has skin penetration issues, and we heard about this at Suppliers Day, and so on its own, not so good, but combined with Bakuchiol, makes all the difference. Right, so we have some questions. Sandrine Julian, do you have I presume this is about Bakuchiol and E plus BCR. Do you have the in vivo results versus placebo?
I assume you mean vehicle placebo. So since this is a pilot scale study, we focus on getting as many markers as possible. So we didn't do versus a vehicle placebo, but we kept the formulation as minimalistic as possible. So we'd be happy to share the full formula with you. 1% was the only active within it. The rest were really just things like water thickeners and things of that nature as well.
Okay. Thank you, Sandrine. A few questions about the presentation and data and so on. The recording will be made available to watch at your leisure to approved attendees, registrants, in a few days. We'll get that out to you very shortly. So if you miss anything, that'll be available to you very soon. A question from Marish Heiner. Bakuchiol, as we know, is a retinol alternative. Can you compare Bakuchiol NAD plus with retinol in terms of anti-aging?
Sure. We didn't do a one-to-one comparison, but from what we've seen, because we also do provide gram-active retinoid, one of the main differences we've noticed between just retinoid and then our Bakuchiol ester in general is Bakuchiol ester tends to lean more towards a hydration-based benefit, whereas retinoids especially tends to move more towards stronger turnover modulation and exfoliation. So retinoids do boost the natural skin exfoliating enzymes in your skin. So that's why in some cases we say these can also be combined, because with retinoids, you are directly targeting the retinoid receptors. You get more of an exfoliation benefit. With the Bakuchiol ester, you kind of get indirect. So it's not targeting retinoid receptors. It's retinoid adjacent, but you get more of a hydration benefit. And of course, all the longevity benefits there as well. So that's one of the key differences that we've noticed.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for the question. A question from Bill Weissman. Can this be adapted to using this blend in a hydrophilic application?
If I can maybe pick that one up. Obviously, as Moran mentioned, it's a lipophilic ingredient, but as I mentioned in my presentation, we have a fantastic lab, and they've actually been able to do quite a lot of work with this ingredient and put it into water-based formulation. So you don't get completely waterless, colorless water, transparent system, but it can go into water-based systems with a little bit of formulation assistance.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for the question. Speaking of facilities, you mentioned Anaheim, California. I wasn't actually aware you'd opened a facility in Anaheim. Dean, is any other expansion or plans on the horizon for
Absolutely, yeah. So we've really, as I said, invested not only kind of in the things that people aren't necessarily seeing, but we've also grown the team. So we have our colleague Francisco, who relocated to California and is working with customers locally there. And in Europe, I'm really delighted to say that we have 2 people that have joined in the last 6 to 9 months. So Kevin Elbers has joined us covering the DACH region. So that's Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. Kevin has got a lot of experience, more than 10 years working within the personal care market, and he's there to support customers locally in that region. And I'm also super excited that I get to work with an old colleague of mine as well, Alessandro Mezzanotti, who joined us. His first day was the day before in cosmetics, but he's actually worked with Grant for more than 23 years at our previous distributor. So his knowledge of our portfolio is very in depth, and he's based in Italy. So covering Italy and Spain. So he's really there. The idea is that we can have that connection to our customers and support them whenever they need anything from us.
Lovely. Okay. I'm talking of distributors. Question from Merve Sanchak. sorry if I've murdered your surname, Merlin. Do you have a distributor in Turkey?
Yes, we do actually. Yes, we work with IMCD. So that's a change that took place in the last 1 or 2 months. So IMCD Turkey are now our distributor locally in Turkey.
Lovely. Okay, good. Thank you, Merve. Question about the bio-based elastomer, GrandSense. Remind us, what is it derived from? So it's a silicone replacement. What is it derived from? What is it made of?
We have quite a few different starting materials. So we use a combination of different technologies. It is patent pending, so I wouldn't want to share that in an open public forum, but it is something we can discuss at length. We have presentations, and we do actually use some waste streams to actually create the elastomer as well. So as I said, it's all fully natural.
Very good. And a question from Evita Asare, who I think is in Ghana. Evita, hi. What is the minimum order quantity? Is that something? I don't know if you want to. I mean, I guess actually it'd be useful to have if there's questions about samples, quotes, maybe have an email address that you could put up. Do you have or what's the best email address for such queries?
We have sales@grantinc.com. So that would be the predominant email address to go to, just because that would be covering all territories globally. And then our team internally will then direct that query to the right person in the right region. So
sales at grantinc.com.
Exactly that, yes. And that's a nice, easy question. So the MOQ is just 18 kilos, 18.
18 kilos. Thank you, Evita. Thank you for the question. Any distributors in Pakistan, or do we deal with IMCD Dubai? That is from Merish again. Merish, I know.
We work with IMCD in both India and Dubai, so I don't know who would be the most appropriate contact. But again, if you email sales@grantinc.com, we can put you in touch with the best person.
In Italy, is that IMCD?
It is indeed, yes.
Okay, good. Sales marketing at Grant Inc. is an email apparently. Is that right? I'm not sure. What. Just seen a message pop up.
Sales marketing at grantinc.com. Yes, it is.
Sales marketing at grantinc.com. Thank you for that. Thank you, Lena. Okay. I mean, that's a good hour running out. So there's a question coming about Venezuela. Can we find bakuchiol in Venezuela? I suppose so. Why not?
Yeah, that one I'm not sure about. We would have to check.
Yeah. Check. Okay, good. Well, last chance for questions. If not, I'll wrap up there. As I say, the recording will be made available to approved attendees in the next few days, and just remains for me to say thank you very much, Dean and Moran. Thank you very much for a very informative presentation.
Thank you very much for your time, Tim, and everyone else.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Goodbye.